Welcome to the August 31st Beat Cancer Answer call. And tonight we have a special guest on, John Bosin from Dr. Lee's Green Tea. That is a tea that we wholeheartedly endorse for one single reason, is because it's to have the chemicals in it that are good for combating cancer. And I will let John talk all about that because he knows all the facts about that. John Bosin was also a board member at one time of Beat Cancer and an old friend. With that, we'll start talking with John, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Raise your hand. A little bit of house cleaning. Do not use this as medical advice. We have to say that. But we do know a whole lot more about healing than the medical industry, because they're not necessarily about healing. They're more about combating disease with medicine. And we're about healing the body. The body heals itself. We just help you get in the best possible state to heal. And green tea is a great thing to use. So, John, talk to us a little bit about Dr. Lee's Green Tea.
I'm here.
Yep,
okay.
You're on. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is John Bosin. Thank you for having me. I'm the director of Dr. Lee's Green Tea for Health. Our website, www.tea-for-health.com. And we have a rather interesting story as to how we began. Our company only has two products. We sell organic green tea, and we sell patented ceramic steeper sets that are designed specifically to help brew our tea. And I'll get into that later. I may dance around a little bit, jump around from topics, but you'll have to forgive me on that. How we started. Dr. Sin-Hang Lee is a noted research molecular pathologist. His work includes developing a real test for Lyme disease and an inexpensive early detection test for the Ebola virus. His specialties include screening for women's infections caused by human papillomavirus, that's the HPV that you may have heard about. And he patented the first FDA-approved histochemical estrogen assay for breast cancers. Based on his research, he requested the FDA to revise the classification and use direction of the current FDA-approved HPV test to reduce the excessive, unnecessary, harmful biopsies on American women. Dr. Lee and his associates around the world has also challenged the safety of the HPV vaccines, Gardasil and Cervarix. As a result of his studies, he's able to offer many low-cost, non-invasive cancer tests, all based on DNA. These tests are extremely accurate, and by the way, these tests are available at a special price by visiting our Tea for Health website. Anyway, as part of his research, he developed our tea, and this was somewhere after the turn of the century, after 2000. Turn of the century sounds kind of funny, but that's where we are, only 23 years later. He started a company to produce and package and sell the tea. Coincidentally, I was on the board, as Carl mentioned, of BeatCancer.Org when I found out I had lymphoma. Fortunately, I was able to quickly get counseling from our organization, and one of the first things suggested for treatment was Tea for Health, which at that time the counselors at BeatCancer.Org recommended as one of their items for improving health. I began taking the tea and completely changed my diet under the care of my Beat Cancer counselor, who happens to have been Susan Silverstein, who is an amazing person. I was also very fortunate to come under the care of the top lymphoma doctor at the University of Pennsylvania. And what's great about him, before suggesting chemo or radiation, he agreed to allow me time to make my lifestyle changes, and he monitored my progress. Over a year or two period, at each visit to the UAP, the cancer in my blood dropped dramatically. And today, this was back in 2011, by the way, my blood is normal. My doctor was amazed. He quizzed me every visit and actually began following many of the lifestyle changes that we recommended through Beat Cancer. He switched his family from milk to almond milk. He began drinking the tea, and he lowered his sugar and wheat intake. Not surprisingly, he doesn't recommend these things for any of his patients because he needs the money. To get back to Dr. Lee, the FDA had been giving him a hard time about combining his research and selling tea, and the pressure was mounting, so he decided to give up the tea. I found this out when I placed a new order and was told it would be the last time that he was going out of business. When I told our BeatCancer director, she was quite upset, and she suggested we contact Dr. Lee and ask him to donate the rest of his inventory. I had a better idea, and I asked her to wait a bit to see what I could find out. So I contacted Dr. Lee and asked if I could come see him. He was extremely gracious, and we quickly set up an appointment. My wife Mary and I traveled to his Connecticut offices, where we wound up discussing the future of the tea for many hours. It became apparent that he had a wide network of family and friends that he did not want to let down, so he was in a quandary about what to do. After much conversation, I came up with a suggestion that it might be possible for us to take over the operation and allow Dr. Lee to remain in the background. Well, he jumped at the idea. We discussed some detail, shook hands, and we were in the tea business. Mary and I owned Apollo Graphics, a printing and graphics business, and we were already set up to do packaging, fulfillment, and advertising. So that was a great help. We moved the tea and steepers down to a warehouse in New Jersey, where they are today, quickly produced some graphics, set up a new website, and in no time we were back in business. Dr. Lee still remains as an advisor and mentor. So that's how we got started. Now, about our green tea. Our green tea we promote as 710 EGCG. EGCG is, I'm going to try to say, aleppo-gallic acid, EGCG, which is a very high antioxidant. That antioxidant is proven through tests over many years that it will help protect your immune system, prevent cancer, heart disease, you name it. And along with all the other things that BeatCancer, by the way, suggests, including exercise and diet change, our tea is recommended throughout the world. We always see information on the internet of green teas claiming to have the highest EGC levels of any other tea. Believe it or not, we actually contact these companies and ask the percentage in their teas. To date, their only response is, we don't know the exact percentage, but it's high. They really don't know. We often purchase the most popular brands of organic teas claiming high EGCG levels and send them off to an independent lab, along with a bag of our own Dr. Lee's tea. They do tests side by side, and so far the highest level of antioxidants we have found in any competitor's tea is about 60% of our tea. Before you try other teas, ask the producer if they can provide the EGC content of the tea. Ask if they test for pesticides, lead, or other heavy metals. Every batch of our tea is tested twice in the lab, and we guarantee the level to be a minimum of 7.1%. In reality, as we test it, it's almost always over 9%. We know of no other producer that does such complete testing. Tea for Health is also tested to ensure that it's free of pesticides and heavy metals. I'm not sure you folks know, but even USDA testing does not require certified organic teas to not have lead. Lead has nothing to do with the USDA certification. We make sure our teas are free of lead and other metals. So we're very confident. As an aside, by the way, this is just a note I picked up here. A lot of people call us and say, can they use tea leaves in their smoothie? And that includes all tea leaves, all green tea leaves that you might come across, green matcha teas, etc. The answer is don't waste your time. Unless all those teas are brewed, they have no antioxidant levels that have any value whatsoever. Good thing to do with our tea leaves after you brew the tea is bust them on your rose bushes, and they'll help keep the aphids away. So just keep that in mind when people will try to give you information that you don't have access to. Our green tea helps protect your brain against all green teas, actually. Help protect your brain against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Green tea enhances memory. Green tea improves cognitive performance. Green tea contains the highest levels provided in activity for antiviral activity. I'm living proof. My family's living proof. We never got any tests. None of us ever got. We go around. We only worn masks when they were absolutely required in stores, and we don't ever expect to get anything like that. So that's my story on the tea. Our tea is available through our website, but I'm going to give you a special code now that you will only find on the BeatCancer website. And if you use that code, you'll get a small discount, but we also, as long as we have the code, we make a donation, a substantial donation on every bag of tea sold through Beat Cancer referrals. We make a donation to Beat Cancer, so we're great supporters and look forward to giving them lots of donations. The code for those of you who are interested is 23, the number 23, CASE, 23 capital CACE. If you use that code, you go to our website and you'll get your tea. We ship it out same day or next day. And look at our steepers because they actually help brew the tea. If you don't have our steeper, you can try filling a mug with boiling hot water and brewing the tea with a saucer over the top. But we also offer a very special discount on our steeper sets through Beat Cancer. Carl, I can stop now to answer any questions, or I can continue, whatever you want me to do.
Yeah, you can continue, but I wanted to mention a couple of things. That John is doing this as a labor of love and out of his experiences with the tea, and to not let that legacy die. He doesn't need to do this business. He's been in printing forever. In fact, I worked for him as a young man a lifetime or two ago, and he's made his money in business, and he does this because he knows it works. The other thing I'd like to add, isn't your tea the only one that has FDA approval?
That's true. That's an interesting point. We are the only ones. If you go to our website, you'll see a comment. The FDA has officially allowed the first qualified green tea health claim that green tea may help to prevent breast cancer and other cancers. That's an FDA claim, but that claim applies specifically in reality only to our tea, which is the only one that was tested by the FDA and studied. So thanks, Carl. Yes, that's absolutely true. And we do believe we're the only ones in the whole world that actually research our tea. We spent $100,000 setting up labs to test our tea, and they're done by independent labs. One of them is the University of Rutgers.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. People just don't know what they're buying, and they think that just any green tea is good. There's a specific reason that Susan Silverstein, our founder, was attracted to this tea, and I would say mostly that's because she's been promoting it for over 35 years, Ms. Dr. Lee, and it's been working for her clients, her patients. So it's not only lab tested, it's field tested.
It's very well field tested and constantly monitored. We go to the lab every year or two to test new batches and verify what we have. And it's been very successful. So, not enough people know about it. But to be truth, all green tea is good for you. The question is how much lead is in the ones that are not as good for you, and how much better is our tea for you? Those are the only questions. If you compare by price, our price is probably extremely competitive to the teas that are famous, some of the green matcha teas, which are powders, which to me taste terrible, but that's just my opinion. But we researched them all, and again, we've never found one that come within 60% of our values. So. That's more than correct. Nobody should drink cow's milk. Believe it or not, cow's milk is bad for you. Cow's milk that's been reduced, what are the words?
Homogenized.
No, I'm talking about where they take some of the other materials out of it.
Right, the low fat.
Yeah, the low fat. They're actually worse for you than straight cow's milk, believe it or not. But
Yep.
what you said is absolutely true, and the reason is all cow's milk has carcinogens in it. And this happened back in when the country was
Lost you a little bit, John.
farmlands out west. And for some reason, the carcinogens changed from which is still, sheep and goats still have casein. I get them mixed up, casein A and B, but I think it's casein B they still have. And cow's milk went from casein B to casein A, which is a poisonous carcinogen. Nobody should have it at all. As far as the tea goes, the only things that we ever encourage anybody to use if they don't want to drink our tea straight is a bit of lemon or a bit of honey. Nothing else. Maybe a bit of maple sugar, but nothing else. This tea is as much for enjoyment, it's more for health. So you're drinking 3 cups a day to prevent COVID, to prevent cancer, to prevent other diseases. And if you're not preventing them, as Carl mentioned, we're not doctors, but we get an awful lot of information from Dr. Lee still. If you're not preventing it, you're on your way to reducing it or helping it. So that's the answer on cow's milk. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, casein, I've heard of that.
Yes, thank you. Also, the green tea is good for burning fat. So when I'm at the dance club, I take my green tea with me, and that's what I sip on while I'm exercising.
Yeah, but you're burning fat because you're dancing also, and that's true. It's
a combination.
It's great for everything and not bad for anything. Some people ask about caffeine. Well, coffee has a lot of caffeine. Medium roast coffee has a little less. Green tea, which nobody should ever drink, I'll get into that in a minute. I don't mean green, excuse me, black tea. Nobody should ever drink, has caffeine. Green tea has less caffeine. And our tea has minimal caffeine, which Dr. Lee believes everybody should have caffeine because a certain small amount of that is actually healthy for you. Black tea is, we have tested black teas, famous brand black teas, and they all have, excuse me, they don't all, many of them have, and we'll never tell you who they are, have metals in them. They're all contaminated because the way they're made is they're fermented. And we tell everybody, don't drink black tea. Drink green tea. If you don't want our tea, drink green tea anyway. You're crazy if you don't drink our tea. So, yes, what you said there is also correct.
I'd like to mention, too, that your tea comes in a pouch and it's not in bags. And what I've heard is a lot of the tea bags have carcinogens in them as well.
That's very possible, but that's, yeah. And like I say, we've actually tested them, but that research is something we'd be subject to lawsuits forever if we got into that. So
yeah,
the smartest thing is to drink our tea or drink green tea and improve your health. And our tea is loose.
Yeah, it's loose.
That's a good point. It comes in approximately 45 serving bags, loose tea. The bag is sealed with a Ziploc, and we recommend a level teaspoon. Pour boiling water over it, steep it for 20 minutes, let it cool down, and drink it in the next hour or two. In the summertime, if you want, after you brew it, put it in a thermos or something, stick it in the refrigerator to cool down. Don't ever put ice in it, and drink it throughout the day. And we do the same thing. Sometimes when it's hot like it is now, we'll let it chill.
I believe I remember when talking with Dr. Lee that his attention to detail in how they pick the leaves of the tea makes a big difference. Not cutting the leaves, but plucking the leaves or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's true. As much about the location as anything. Our tea comes from plantations, lands, the hills were away from, and it's certified by the Chinese government to be organic. We do not have organic certification in this country because it's way too expensive, and we'd have to boost our prices. And since we do all testing of it, we don't find that's necessary. But just the way it's harvested immediately and packaged in China, it's packaged in, our packets that we sell are nitrogen sealed in 45 teaspoon bags, small bags, as you can see in our website. It comes to us in 50-pound bags that are also sealed in nitrogen, and it's tested in China for EGC, metals, pesticides, etc. It comes here sealed. We take the teas, bags to the lab. They open them, they test them here, and run the exact same test over again. So we're double tested. I'm going out on a limb, but it's an easy limb. We're the only ones in the world that do that. No one, and we know because we call everybody, and they don't even know what they have. So, it's the way it's harvested and hand-picked is absolutely true, Carl.
Yeah, and from what you're telling me, too, you have a particular way of steeping the tea. Some people have metal steepers, and you're kind of from a different mindset. So why don't you tell us how Dr. Lee suggests that the tea be steeped for best results?
Well, our special steeper sets. They come with a beautifully decorated ceramic mug, a lid that has a depression. When you put the lid on top after you pour the water in, it actually forces some of the water out. And it comes with a little miniature tray that catches the little bit of water that drips out so it doesn't get all over the place. And the way these sets are not only ceramic, but they're researched and studied to make sure that they're lead-free. So our ceramic steeper sets are the best way to brew the tea. What you do is put a teaspoon of our tea in the cup, pour boiling water over it right to the top, put the lid on it, squeeze out a tiny bit of water to make sure there's no oxygen in there, which helps the EGC level maintain while you're brewing the tea. You brew the tea for 20 minutes, Some people, if they think it's too strong, only brew it for 15 minutes. After you're finished, you put this tea aside, let it cool down a few minutes, and then you can take the lid off and begin to drink it. The leaves sink to the bottom. Some people like to pour it through a strainer afterwards. That's not necessary because all the leaves do sink to the bottom, and when you're finished drinking it, there's only a tiny bit of the water left at the bottom. You rinse the cup out, pour the leaves on your roses, and they do help keep the aphids away, believe it or not. But that's how we brew our tea. Are there any other questions?
Do you have any thoughts on white tea? I've heard of white tea as well.
Oh, boy, do I. Biggest joke going. White tea is green tea without the green. It's filtered. And I'm looking for my notes here because rather than me say it, I'll read you our research on it. By the way, it's very low in fluoride also. Give me one. Is white tea beneficial? White tea is produced from the same leaves as green tea. However, the preservation process is questionable and the antioxidant level cannot be standardized. So a high EGC benefit is doubtful. There is no scientific evidence that white tea, which, by the way, costs more, contains more health benefits than green tea. And that's our Dr. Lee's research on that. But does that answer the question or help with the question?
Oh, absolutely. And the follow-up, do you have any, scientific articles that perhaps Dr. Lee authored or studies he worked on demonstrating how many toxins and assorted chemicals that you may not want in your body are found in most off-the-shelf tea bags?
There's tons of research. Some of it you can find by looking up Dr. Lee himself, and some of it you can find on our website, including formulas, none of which I totally understand, but they're there for those. If you look at our scientific information section, you can get some brief explanations, and you'll even see the chemical structures of the tea, the phenolic antioxidant donation. So it's ROO is a lipid-free radical, and it's involved in oxidation, which relatively unreactive, and then it forms the EGC levels that we're talking about. I'm not a scientist, so that's the best I can do is refer you to our website and articles by Dr. Lee. The scientific community, except for the ones that believe, it's like the scientists today, half of them global warming, half of them no global warming. Well, this is the same with Dr. Lee. The scientific community that's in the bed with the pharmaceuticals hate his guts, and they hate his associates throughout the world. But he's strong, and he has great research to back up what he says. He actually came up with, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think earlier, he came up with an Ebola test based on DNA. And what's interesting about his Ebola test, when he offered it to the marketplace, he said he was willing to provide the testing for $10 a test. And at the time, the large pharmaceuticals were going across Africa with refrigerated trucks, and the testing at that point was approximately $3,000 a test. So they weren't interested in Dr. Lee's tests, so he's used them himself with people that come and contact his lab and information around the world, but the pharmaceuticals aren't interested. They can't afford to use him when they can get $3,000 tests. And by the way, his tests, and I go by his claims, but there's lots of information on it. His tests, because they're DNA-based, are much more accurate. The same with his women's cervical HPV tests. They're accurate, and there's what he's done, and we have some family members young women that have taken his tests, and avoided getting the BRCA vaccines. And what the tests show is if you're a woman, this happens in men too, by the way. Men get breast cancer and other cancers. But if you're a woman and you take this test, and the test says that you're very likely never to get cervical cancer, well, you're home free. You know, you can go on with your life. You get tested every 5 years with the same test, and you don't have to go through these vaccines. The man's unique. He's in his 90s now, and if you met him, you would think he was a 50-year-old man. Any more questions?
I've heard horror stories about the HPV vaccines, and that was actually that was the first vaccine that ever clued me into issues with vaccines, right down to the base serum that the vaccine is in, the bovine fluid and the egg fluid.
Well, we believe that's all true because, we believe him, and I mean, he has the testing to prove it. Again, we're not scientists. My job is to hear him and decide whether to believe him or not. And everybody else's job is the same. But he makes a good case, and he has what you just mentioned. He has the proof. He has cases of young women dying after getting these things. You never hear about it from the pharmaceuticals. Drink our tea and keep the cancer doctors away. Go to Beat Cancer, you not only keep cancer away, but you keep everything else away. Obesity, heart disease, what am I missing? Diabetes.
Yeah.
Do all those things. Before I start drinking the tea, I had high blood pressure and was taking pills for that too. And now, besides getting rid of the cancer, my blood pressure is on the good side of normal. And a lot has to do with BeatCancer. Not just our tea. Don't anybody get me wrong. It's not just our tea. It's BeatCancer.Org. You know, I do all the things. I have the trampoline that Susan recommended. I have the, UV booth that we go into. And we do what she says. We read her books and do what was recommended. And we don't take any pills or anything else.
Well, I'd have to see you on the trampoline. I've been at your house. I've been at your house, so I'm wondering where you're jumping. So this is a
little 3-footer.
Oh, I know. It's a rebounder, right? We got a question from Yvette. So.
Hello. Good evening. I just have a quick question. What is the suggested type of water to use when steeping the tea?
Well, the best is filtered water. Oh, God, it just left my head. You know, what's the water that everybody's preaching with all the systems that you put in your house? I'm drawing a blank. You all know it. You hook it to your water fountain, to your water supply, the filters.
What? Kangen water?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Kangen water?
Kangen? Or
no, it's everybody knows it.
Reverse osmosis, that one?
Yeah, it's a reverse osmosis system, exactly right.
Okay.
That's the ideal for our tea. But the counter to that, and we don't use it, we just use filtered water from our refrigerator, which takes out. The counter to that is there are studies, Dr. Lee goes back and forth on this, because there are studies that if you have a good water supply, you need the minerals in the water for health that might be filtered out. So the idea is to filter out the poisons through a good filter system. A reverse osmosis, if you have the system, a Brita filter or something like that would work too. But if you overdo it, you're losing the minerals that you actually need from the water. So it's an argument that goes back and forth. But yes, make sure it should be at least filtered water. It depends on your water supply from your town or your well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're open for questions if anybody has a question. If not, John, you can add whatever you want.
Well, I'm pretty well
guys,
shot.
Okay, we got one here.
Good.
Jose.
Good.
Yeah, Jose, I'm in Mexico at the Hope for Cancer Clinic, and I was glad to get a call. I've been wanting to get into my routine about these calls. So hi, Carl, and hi, Catherine.
Hey.
Jose
coming on.
Okay. So I did not have a question, but I just wanted to say hello, and I'm glad I got on. And God bless everyone. I'm glad to be part of the coaches. It's really wonderful. So thank you guys for all the good work.
Jose, did I meet you at Annie Appleseed or Best Dancer for Cancer conference?
No, we haven't. I think the connection was through Catherine. She became a mentor through the Healing Strong Ministry in Southern California out of Rancho Cucamonga. And Catherine spent about 4 sessions with Carolyn and I preparing us for the testing and the curriculum of BeatCancer.Org. So you and I interchanged various emails, Carl.
No, I remember.
Yeah.
When I heard you're out of Mexico, I thought maybe you're one of the organizations down there that does treatment centers.
Yes, I am. Hope for Cancer in Mexico. And the good news, just yesterday, my markers went from first it was 385 3 months ago. 1 month ago, it went down to 104. And now, yesterday, it was at 8.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So, a real miracle. So I'm really thankful for the new protocol.
Oh, I'm so happy for you, Jose.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, and I know you're following a really good diet, and I know you're exercising, and I know you're decreasing stress and doing all the things that have been recommended in our program, and what I've been able to offer you. And I'm delighted to hear that you're progressing so well. Wow.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. And the BeatCancer.Org, becoming a holistic cancer coach, man, it has changed. It's a game changer. In the cancer world that I move about, it's just amazing the things that God is using to help other people. All the skills. It's just so amazing. I can't thank you enough for your help, Catherine and Carl, for BeatCancer.Org. It's amazing.
That's why we're here, Jose.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Actually, I actually have a few comments because I've got some information here from Susan Silberstein's work, and she lists 10 things and advantages of green tea. And I thought I'd just quickly mention what they are, and then I can ask our guest to comment on those comments. And the one is, what exactly does green tea do? Okay. And it inhibits the formation of N-nitrogen compounds. It blocks the invasion of formation of carcinogens. It inhibits tumor promoters. That's really important. It inhibits the synthesis of inflammatory enzymes, so it's good for inflammation. Okay, it really helps. It also, the cathogens are antioxidants and that are fighting against free radicals. It inhibits telomerase activity, and for those who don't know what telomerase is, when you have cell biology and how the cells separate and grow, it's the metaphase and telophase. So all of these different enzymes that are part of that, it inhibits some of those, so you don't have all that rapid change in those cells, those cancer cells. It also inhibits DNA couple isomerase, and it induces apoptosis. For those who don't know what apoptosis is, it's where the cancer cells actually die. Okay? And it also reduces angiogenesis. And angiogenesis is when you have cells that have their own blood supply and can generate their own blood supply. So it inhibits this activity and reduces it. And also the EZGC potentiates and boosts the anti-cancer effects of chemotherapy. And I thought that was an interesting point. So those women that are actually on and using chemotherapy, that if you are actually drinking green tea 3-4 times a day, it actually is quite beneficial in supporting in your treatment. So this is something that is very useful, and I really think we need to take a look at some of the things that we're drinking, and why are we not switching over to something that makes sense and that is protecting against cellular damage, and also something that is going to reduce those free radicals. And you can get that in green tea. And as you can see today, I'm drinking green tea. And I actually put a little bit of ginseng and honey in it. I put it in my fridge. Every 3-4 days I make a fresh batch, and because I make a big jug of it. And I can honestly tell you, it's refreshing, especially in the summer. And I do not put ice in it. I just keep it cold in the fridge, and it is just refreshing. So would you like to make any comment to that?
Wow. I mean, I got to hire you to write for us. The only thing, yes, well, I had a close association with Susan on a lot of this. And again, as I was her cancer patient. And you can get a lot of that information on our website, and you can get a lot of that information by the Beat Cancer books that the association produces. But there's just tons of information. Some of it, could be considered too technical. But one of the things you mentioned, and in a recent study by the National Institute of Health, which, sometimes we question them, people who consume 2 to 3 cups of tea a day had a 13% lower risk of dying from heart disease and stroke. And in other tests, researchers gave 20 men who had smoked for 6 years 4 cups of tea every day for 2 weeks. The tea increased the number of circulating reparative stem cells.
Yes.
So without getting too technical, everything you said is true, everything we're aware of, a good bit of that's on our website. I'll give you a few twists on it that are maybe a little more reduced for we common folks. I say our green tea because we're the strongest, so you can always assume green tea. But our green tea helps protect your brain against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I think I mentioned it. It enhances memory. It improves cognitive performance. It has a potential to cure diseases like Alzheimer's. It contains high polyphenols and antiviral activity. Keep that in mind for COVID and why we don't get the shots, why we drink the tea instead. And it's increasingly viewed as a potential treatment agent for SARS. So keep all that in mind. The only thing I'm going to mention, all those things you said and what you do, we preach that don't keep the tea more than a day. It really does lose antioxidants. So make a little smaller batch and make it every day. And it's good all day, but consume it within 24 hours. And there's been some research on that by Dr. Lee.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Yep. Yeah, and do exactly what you're doing. You put it in the refrigerator, you put a little lemon or honey, whatever, that's fine. Honey is a pretty good antioxidant. Believe it or not, maple sugar is as strong an antioxidant as broccoli. That's good news for people like me.
I was late on the call, so what is the tea you're talking about? What's your tea?
It's Tea for Health. John, you want to say your website again? You can also go to BeatCancer.org/tea. BeatCancer.org/tea.
Okay.
And that'll take you to a page about the teas, and the discount on the teas is also on that page. And then from there, it'll link to John's site where you'll have all the research that he's talking about on his site. But that's where you get the discount code.
Good.
Yeah, and John, you might want to mention that a lot of coaches, BeatCancer, holistic cancer coaches, and patients buy from you. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was going to after she was, oh gosh, I forget her name.
Catherine.
I apologize.
That's all right.
And after Catherine was finished, because she said something that I picked up on. We have a pretty strong relationship with a lot of cancer coaches, and we offer a special deal for them so they can provide it for their patients. And we tell them they'd have to contact us separately by email or phone. And then we have a discussion, see what their needs are. And the idea is for them to either buy in bulk then distribute to their patients, or in some cases, we have 2 coaches that we provide a special code to so their clients can order it directly from us. And that's a special deal. But yes, we're very tight with a lot of the cancer coaches. There should actually be even more cancer coaches to come to us, because anything I've ever heard from the patients who tell us they're coaches, they're getting great help.
No.
Yeah, and like I was saying with John, it's a labor of love. There's not a huge margin on each bag, so when coaches get deals like this in bulk, there's not enough left over to
very little, but that isn't the point, right?
Because there's just not a whole lot of margin, because John wants to keep this affordable for everybody, and it's more important to get the tea out than it is to make a buck. I mean, you have to make a buck to keep the business alive, but he does that through same way BeatCancer does, very low overhead, and taking the money and putting it back into scientific research and making sure that people can get this tea.
It's very important to us.
Do you ship to Canada?
The answer is yes. Canada's a pain, but we have
always.
When you can't order from our website for internet, we ship all over the world. We ship to the Congos, we ship to Africa, we ship to Australia. The only place we don't ship now is we don't ship to England, and now some of the non-Brexit countries in Europe, the European Union, have made some tariff rules that are a pain for us. So sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not, but we do ship all over the world. For Canada, yes, we ship, and we also have, for people that are interested and want to go to the trouble, in Canada we can prepay the duty, so it's a minimal amount as opposed to a lot of money. Some of our Canadian customers choose to come across the border and pick it up at a friend or relative. But we ship 10, 20 bags across the border all the time to Canada.
Wonderful.
And again, all over the world we ship. Trying to think of the farthest place that we ship to, but, well, Hong Kong for one. So, yeah, it's not a problem except for the new Brexit rules, where we have to get so involved in their tariff laws and file paperwork and everything. It's just not, we don't make any money on this. We make peanuts, so it's not worth it to us.
Yeah, I've had the same issues sending books out. By the time I'm done doing everything, we didn't make anything on the book at all in certain places. Yep.
But if people will to order us from, if you're outside the country, you'll try to place an order, and we even say on our website, call us or email us. You call us or email us, we work it out, we take care of you, and we bill through PayPal. Not the best way for us to bill, but it's also the lowest price, so we can keep the prices down. PayPal's a pain. But anyway, we bill through PayPal, and they accept funds from all over the world. So that's not an issue. It's only the Brexit laws and the cost. It costs a lot more to ship outside the country, but we try to keep it as low as possible.
So you might have heard John mention Mary. Mary is John's wife. And so when you do contact T for Health, you're going to get John or Mary. It's them. They're doing it. They're like BeatCancer. They're lean and mean.
Grandchildren, nephews, and mostly for the packaging. But there's only 2 of us, sometimes 3 of us, my grandson, that answer phone.
Yeah, good for you.
But we always get back to you same day if you email us, so it's never a problem.
Well, we're getting close on the top of the hour here, so any last-minute questions, or if not, I'll let John close up with any last-minute thoughts. Okay, John, got anything else you want to add before we close up?
No, I appreciate everyone listening. I know I went on, but it's important to us. It's important to BeatCancer, and it's important to Susan, who saved my life. So we welcome you all. We welcome questions. You can call us. You can email us. You can order online. You can order through our website. And just make sure you use the BeatCancer code so we can give them credit. You can order through the information from the BeatCancer website. And don't forget, not only our tea, 3 cups a day or whatever you choose, but Beat Cancer. Beat Cancer saves lives. And they saved my life, and never forget it. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a good day and a good life.
Amen.
Thank you so much, John. We so appreciate you coming on and talking with us tonight, and we'll get the recording out as soon as possible.
And I think it's really wonderful, John, that you've come on today and spoken to as a guest to all of our clients as well as our coaches, because I think all of us want to optimize the care for our clients, and it means a lot having extra support. And then we will send them to your website so that they can get extra information that's reliable. That's what we're looking for, reliable information. And I thank you so much for all you do.
One last thing I noticed in the chat, it said the discount code was 23CASE. It's CACE.
Yes.
That's our official name, CACE. BeatCancer is our doing business as name because BeatCancer.org is easy to remember and hard to misspell. But CASE stands for Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. That's our actual name. That's the name of our organization. We're all about education, cancer education. So it's CACE.
Capital CACE, don't forget.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't promote that name from the time that I got on to Beat Cancer was because everybody said CASE. They're like, okay, CASE, I'll go back. BeatCancer.org is just easy to remember and hard to misspell. And CASE stands for Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. And we hope you felt educated tonight. It was jam-packed, John. Thank you so much for everything. It was a lot to unpack there.
Pleasure.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording now. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.